Be prepared. We're about to witness a crucial lunar shift that most people aren't even aware of. And it's already starting tomorrow. September 17th is not written in the headlines, and most people will treat it like an ordinary day. But for the chosen ones, it is the invisible trigger point. You've been told to wait for the big dates, like the eclipse on the 21st, but the truth is, by the time everyone's looking up at the sky, the shift has already begun. Tomorrow, the wheel starts to turn, quietly, unnoticed. Reality will move, and only those tuned in will feel it. If you're here, you're not meant to overlook it. This is the hidden start of a phase that will alter your path in ways you can't yet imagine. And this is only the beginning, because what follows isn't calm. It's a rising pressure that grows heavier every single day. We've just come out of the shock waves of a total lunar eclipse, and now, without a pause, we're stepping straight into a brand new lunar phase. From tomorrow onward, the pressure builds. Every single day leading into the eclipse will be heavier, sharper, more demanding than the last. For the chosen ones, this isn't background noise. This is the week where reality stretches, and even the smallest choice carries weight. And if you're ready to align with this shift, feel free to leave your thoughts below. You could even drop 111 along with it. That number anchors intention. It marks you as someone stepping consciously into this energy rather than drifting through it. If you're sensitive to lunar energy, what's about to unfold will not only test you, it will mark you. Standing in the smoke between what ended and what's about to explode. You're not standing in calm, you're standing in smoke. The last lunar cycle burned through old patterns and lit things up that were quietly rotten, and the solar eclipse on the 21st is a slow-burning kindling, ready to ignite. Right now, from the 17th onward, you're in that narrow corridor between two fires. Clarity is blurred, choices feel heavier, and small acts have oversized consequences. This is not poetic drama, it is a pressure cooker. Decisions you make in this smoke won't sit idle. They'll travel forward and feed the blaze on the other side. For the chosen ones, this place between fires is electric with possibility and risk. Between flames, truth reveals itself in ash. You'll notice opportunities appear with strange timing. Conversations that used to be small, now carrying undeniable weight, and intuitions that feel like orders, not suggestions. Nothing about this phase is subtle, but nothing about it is predictable either. What looks like a trivial shift in mood or a sudden urge to act can be the moment that determines whether the eclipse becomes a breakthrough or a rupture for you. The air smells different here, not because it's dangerous, but because it's decisive. You can stand frozen and be singed, or you can move with clarity and use the heat to forge something new. Not everyone will feel the coming phase in a dramatic way. For most, it will pass like background static, a subtle shift barely noticed. But for the chosen ones, it always lands deeper. They are wired differently, sensitive to the moon's pull in body and spirit, often registering changes long before the rest of the world knows anything has shifted. If you've ever felt restless or strangely energized when the moon moves, you already know what's coming. It begins as an unease you can't explain, a nervous system on edge, as if something unseen is calling your attention. Emotions flare without cause, sudden bursts of joy, irritation, or intensity that don't match the moment. Nights grow restless, ideas arrive in the dark like they were delivered straight into your mind, and the sense that something is about to happen lingers in the background. For the chosen ones, these aren't random moods. They are signals. The body becomes a tuning fork, resonating with the moon's gravity, amplifying everything. Crowds feel heavier, conversations feel sharper, even silence feels charged. And life itself begins to shift in sync with the phases. Relationships tilt, opportunities crack open, routines collapse or transform. This is how you know you are marked by the lunar pull. It does not punish, it selects. And if the energy of this week grips you harder than most, it's because this phase is aimed directly at you. Not all shifts arrive in one strike. Some unravel step by step, pulling you deeper with every passing day. From the 17th to the 21st, you'll walk through a corridor where time behaves differently, and reality peels itself open layer by layer. Most will treat these days like nothing special, but for the chosen ones, this countdown is unmistakable. The 17th is the doorway. It doesn't roar open, it clicks quietly, almost unnoticeably. But for those who can feel it, the ignition point is clear. Ordinary choices suddenly feel weighted, as if every step echoes into something larger. This is the first tug, the moment the current starts pulling you in. By the 18th, the pull grows sharper, desires intensify, cravings surface, restlessness builds. You may feel unsettled, almost driven by something you can't quite explain. This isn't random, it's the moon tightening its grip, steering emotions, amplifying longings, and forcing hidden urges into the light. Then comes the 19th, when the strangeness begins. Synchronicities pile up, signs appear in rapid succession, and encounters carry a scripted quality that can't be dismissed. It feels like reality itself is bending closer, arranging details with eerie precision. For the chosen, this is the unmistakable signal that the countdown is real. And finally, the 20th. The day the air grows still. Not peaceful stillness, but heavy, charged silence. The pause before something strikes. Time slows, moments stretch, and the atmosphere feels thick with anticipation. This is the breath before the shadow, the final test of patience and awareness before the eclipse makes everything visible. These 4 days are not background, they are the passage itself. Each day holds a role in this lunar shift. By the time the 21st becomes visible on calendars and headlines, most people will treat it like the beginning of the story. But for those who sense deeper currents, the real eclipse is already playing out in the invisible. The shadow has been cast in the subtle long before it darkens the sky. Energies have shifted, intentions have been rerouted, and the inner architecture of personal reality has begun to reconfigure. What appears on the 21st, the physical alignment, the spectacle, is simply the echo of a spiritual event that has been in motion for days. Think of the visible eclipse as a stamp at the end of a long letter. The letter's meaning was written long before the stamp was pressed. All the emotional surges, the sudden clarity, the doors that open or close, they are the content. The 21st is the seal. The world sees the shadow and calls it arrival. The chosen saw the ink dry weeks ago. That's why you've felt disturbances already. Why decisions made on the 17th can feel like fate by the 20th. This is why the chosen ones are always ahead. They live in the margins where shifts begin, feeling the first tug so they can move before the crowd does. This early spiritual eclipse also changes how reality reflects back to you. Things that were once private become public. Inner decisions start to show up as outer events. People you've been waiting for will appear not because they suddenly decided to, but because the invisible field has rearranged the routes life travels. For some, this brings startling breakthroughs, Sudden clarity, reconciliations, unexpected openings. For others, it forces confrontations they've avoided. Either way, the point is the same. The spiritual eclipse rewrites trajectory before the sky even darkens. And if you're tuned, you've already been rerouted. So understand this plainly, watching the 21st as if it's the start is missing the story. If you felt something shift the moment the 17th arrived, you weren't imagining it. You were early. You were in the room when the writer began the first sentence. The world will catch up, but you will have already moved through the changes. Reversals are not accidents. They are deliberate signatures of this lunar phase. What looks like chaos on the surface is actually the universe turning the board over, so the right pieces fall where they belong before the eclipse locks everything in place. You may notice this in ways that feel jarring at first. People who dismissed you or disappeared months ago suddenly showing up again. Opportunities that looked sealed shut, flickering back to life. Or even decisions you thought you were certain about beginning to wobble. None of this is random. It is the recalibration that has to happen before the cycle cements itself. Life does not collapse to break you, it collapses to rebuild your footing. This is the hidden truth of reversals. What felt secure but stagnant is being broken open, while what felt lost is being returned in altered form. The key is not to measure these reversals by whether they are good or bad, but by the fact that they are movement, proof that the cosmic field is still rearranging. That's why the chosen ones always notice more turbulence here. They are being placed into exact coordinates, while the rest of the world still thinks the game is random. Imagine standing in a room where all the furniture is being shifted. One moment you're frustrated that your favorite chair is gone, but in the next, you realize it's been moved closer to the light where you can finally see clearly. That's how this phase plays out. What seems like disorientation is preparation. If someone returns into your orbit now, don't assume it's a rerun of the past. They are either returning as a test or as a new version of themselves that carries information you didn't have before. Similarly, projects, ideas, or connections that you buried may spark awake, not because you failed to let go, but because their timing was always meant for this alignment. Reversals are the universe's way of making sure you are not walking into your destiny backwards. That means the events you didn't expect, the text message you thought you'd never get, the sudden shift in a relationship, the job you wrote off reappearing, are less about surprise and more about correction. You are being redirected so that when the eclipse arrives, you are standing where you were meant to all along. This is why resisting these reversals only makes them louder. If you push against them, they will push back harder. But if you recognize them for what they are, signals of placement, you'll see the hidden order. The lunar phase right now thrives on this flipping energy, because only through the reversal can clarity emerge. The ground is shifting beneath you, not to take away your path, but to straighten it. And here's the paradox. Often, the things that feel most inconvenient in these days are the very things that end up becoming the foundation for the next cycle. The conversation you didn't want to have, the old issue that resurfaces, the decision you thought was final, suddenly unraveling. These are not setbacks. They are the openings that allow the eclipse's light to seal the path that actually belongs to you. So if your world feels flipped in these days, don't panic. Recognize it as the mark of the lunar phase doing its work. Reversals are not warnings of failure, they are confirmations that you are on the edge of alignment. This lunar phase is not only shifting moods, it's opening a battleground. Beneath ordinary moments, Two forces are vying for influence. Light pushes for clarity and truth. Shadow whispers doubt, secrecy, and control. Most won't notice this struggle, but the chosen ones will feel it in every conversation, every choice, every silence that suddenly carries weight. It begins subtly, a temptation to stay small, a convenient lie, an invitation that feels off but hard to refuse. At the same time, truth arrives through disruption, uncomfortable honesty, inconvenient clarity, people showing their real faces. This isn't chaos, it's the moon amplifying influence, demanding you choose which current you'll inhabit. For chosen ones, the test is sharper. You are both the target and the anchor point. Shadow will push harder at your weak spots, but light will push just as fiercely to be expressed through you. The war is not fought in the sky, it's fought in your small decisions, in whether you yield to pressure or hold your center. And when the eclipse seals the phase, those choices won't just vanish, they'll echo forward. The eclipse is often seen as the climax, the moment of judgment when the sky itself delivers a verdict. But the truth is, that judgment begins days earlier. Every choice between the 17th and the 20th is rehearsal. Every action, a line written into the script the eclipse will seal. By the time the shadow falls, nothing new is decided. It only amplifies what's already been chosen. Think of these days as the tuning of an instrument. The strings are being tightened, the pitch adjusted, the silence charged with anticipation. When the eclipse strikes, it doesn't fix what's out of tune, it magnifies it. If you've been aligned, the strike becomes a breakthrough. If you've been drifting, it exposes the cracks. That's why tomorrow matters. Most people will wait for the 21st as if that's when it begins. But the chosen ones know different. The preparation is the real test, the moment to prove alignment when no one's watching. The eclipse only reveals what's already been rehearsed in silence. So when the shadow comes, don't mistake it for punishment. It is a mirror. It will not rewrite your choices, it will echo them. Starting on the 17th, there's a shift that goes beyond the movement of the moon, beyond the mechanics of light and shadow. It's a shift in attention, not yours, but theirs. You are not just moving into a new phase, you're stepping into a stage where the audience has arrived, silent and unseen, yet fully present. The silent watchers emerge when the veil thins, not to interfere, but to observe who you are when you think no one sees. These are not enemies, not allies, not forces you can bargain with. They are recorders, keepers, witnesses of your choices in this sacred window. They don't move the pieces for you, but they decide what those pieces mean. Ancestors, spirits, guardians, cosmic forces, call them what you will. They gather in the shadows of this phase, and from the 17th onward, they lean closer. Not to test you with chaos, but to weigh the integrity of your response. Think of it like this. The world often imagines spiritual progress as loud and dramatic, filled with signs and battles, but the truth is, much of it happens in silence. The most important moments are not when the storm is raging, but when the air is still and your choice is unnoticed by others. The watchers are there for those moments. They don't need your words. They measure your alignment. They don't care about appearances. They care about essence. This is why chosen ones feel the tension so strongly during this phase. It's not paranoia, it's not imagination, it's presence. The sense that eyes are on you, but not human eyes. That something in the air is heavier, sharper, like every action carries extra weight. That is the watchers drawing near. You are not being punished, you are being witnessed. What are they looking for? Not perfection, not performance. They watch for truth. When the eclipse arrives, the watchers don't cast judgment themselves, they deliver the weight of your choices into the seal of that shadow. They decide which patterns are amplified and which are dissolved, and that is why the 17th is the turning point. It marks the moment where your preparation stops being private and starts being observed. Every hesitation, every alignment, every hidden decision you make is part of the script being written into your eclipse. This doesn't mean you must live in fear of scrutiny. On the contrary, it is empowerment, because it means the days ahead are not empty waiting rooms, they are sacred halls. Every step you take is acknowledged. Every act of courage, every refusal to slip back into old cycles, every choice to hold your ground is seen, noted, amplified. Even the smallest defiance against the shadows counts. Nothing is wasted in the presence of the watchers. And here's the paradox: the watchers never speak. They don't give signs. They don't announce themselves with thunder. Their silence is their language. It's why chosen ones feel unsettled during this time, as if someone is behind them, as if the atmosphere has shifted but can't be explained. That quiet pressure is the sign. The silence is the evidence. The eclipse reveals what the watchers record. That's the hidden chain. Tomorrow, the 17th, is when they rise from the unseen, circling not as hunters, but as witnesses. They won't interfere, but their presence changes everything. Because when you know you're being watched, not by people, but by forces that weigh your very essence, your smallest choices suddenly carry cosmic weight. So understand this: the 17th is not only the beginning of a phase, it is the first step into the Hall of Witnesses. From here until the 21st, the silent watchers stand present. They do not speak, but they decide. They do not guide, but they weigh. And when the eclipse shadow falls, what they observed in silence will be sealed into permanence. The question is not whether they are watching, it is whether you will rise to meet their gaze. When the 21st arrives, the sky will do something uncommon and precise. The sun, the symbol of clarity, identity, and outward certainty, will be partially shut down, if only for a breath. That physical dimming is a dramatic image, but more than spectacle. It is a precise punctuation mark on everything that's been rearranging since the 17th. For days, you've felt the tension, the tug, the rearrangements. On the 21st, those invisible edits find their visible punctuation. The world will not end. Instead, a clear window opens where what you have been pretending is steady will be exposed in the light of shortened day. As the sky darkens, decisions made in the shadows of the past will either stand up to the test or reveal themselves as illusions. Expect variety in how this lands. For some people, it will feel like sudden stillness, like a room where the fan has stopped and every sound is startlingly loud. For others, it will hit like a pressure in the head or a sudden sharpening of perception, as if the world has paused long enough for truth to be audible. You may find your inner narrative dropping away for a moment, leaving only an odd clarity about one single thing, one relationship, one choice, one lie you've been telling yourself. You may experience a burst of creativity so sharp it feels invasive, or a deep, corrective sadness that clears a path by removing what was clogging it. These reactions are not signs of weakness, they are signals of recalibration. The eclipse does not steal light, it reveals which lights were borrowed. If you are sensitive to lunar and solar dynamics, you will feel the strike more intensely. This is not about prophecy or fear-mongering, it's about physiology and presence. The body registers shifts before the mind fully catches up, and the eclipse is an accelerant for whatever was already moving in you since the 17th. Some will feel buoyed, propelled forward with sudden resolve. Decisions that once took months happen in an hour. Others will feel pulled inward, compelled to retreat and examine what is now exposed. Both responses are valid, both are part of the same clearing. What breaks is not always loss, sometimes it's a doorway. It's impossible to predict exactly how you will react, because each life is a unique field of tension. The point is not to guess outcomes, but to recognize the shape of the event. A moment that makes invisible wiring visible. If you've been avoiding truth, the eclipse will hand it to you on a platter. If you've been building quietly, it will amplify your work. If you've been careless with alignment, it will reveal its costs with an unflinching honesty. None of this is punishment. The eclipse functions as a mirror. It intensifies what's already present and gives it scale. Do not let fear lead your interpretation. The eclipse can be fierce, yes, but fierce is not the same as fatal. Chosen ones are often forged in moments like this because pressure produces form. You have been feeling the rehearsal since the 17th, so that when the 21st arrives, you are not surprised into collapse, but tested into clarity. Your body and spirit have been tempered by the small acts in the days before. Saying a truth, stepping away from a drain, choosing an awkward boundary. These micro-actions are the ballast that keeps you steady when the sky briefly dims. Pressure does not break the chosen, it reveals their architecture. Prepare for aftershocks. The eclipse will leave a residue of momentum and a new arrangement of days that follow. Things that aligned with integrity will accelerate. Things built on fear or convenience will lose their leverage. You may need time to integrate sudden insights, to rest after the intensity, or to move immediately on opportunities that require swift action. Whatever the shape, remember that being sensitive does not equal fragility. Sensitivity means you notice sooner. It means you have the privilege and responsibility to respond earlier than most. That early response is power, not a liability. So when the day of partial darkness comes, stand within it with eyes open, not with trembling hands. Let the moment reveal what it must. Let it dissolve what needs dissolving, and let it certify what you have been quietly building. The eclipse will be decisive, but it will not override the work you did between the 17th and the 21st. It will only magnify it. If you have been paying attention, you will step through it changed, not crushed, clearer, not depleted. And if you haven't yet started the small practices of preparation, the eclipse will give you the first strong reason to begin. If the days leading into this eclipse have felt heavy, unpredictable, or even punishing, remember this: it is not designed to destroy you. What begins on September 17th is not a death march, but a corridor of rebirth. Every twist, every reversal, every shadow that tried to crawl into your life in these days, none of it was meant to break you. It was meant to show you what you can walk through and who you become on the other side. Eclipses don't erase chosen ones, they refine them. This is the key shift in perspective. When others look at these alignments and feel only dread, you have the opportunity to see the rebirth encoded in them. The lunar phase beginning on the 17th and carrying forward into the eclipse is a pressure chamber. But pressure is what reshapes raw stone into a diamond. Without it, The chosen remain only potential. With it, they emerge as proof. You're not being dragged into chaos, you're being accelerated into clarity. Think about the nature of a corridor. It's not a place to live, it's a place to pass through. This window between the 17th and the 21st is exactly that. It's not forever. It's not meant to hold you captive. It's a narrow passage designed to strip away distraction and make every step intentional. That's why things feel amplified, why small events seem to carry oversized weight. It is the corridor sharpening your sight, making sure you see what was always hidden in the background noise. On the far side of this passage, you do not simply return to the same landscape. You emerge altered. Your intuition is sharper because you've had to rely on it when external clarity dimmed. Your purpose is renewed because in the darkness of eclipse energy, only the real lights matter. Your sight is clearer because the shadows forced you to recognize what's authentic and what was only pretending. Rebirth does not hand you a new self. It hands you back your true self, unmasked. So don't let fear convince you this is punishment. Fear wants you to see collapse. Awareness shows you transformation. The chosen ones are not simply meant to survive the eclipse corridor, they are meant to emerge as evidence that survival was never the point. Growth was. You are not just walking into shadow, you are walking out of it with a stronger spine, a steadier heart, and a vision tuned to what others can't perceive. The moon's shift, beginning on the 17th, is not just a cosmic event, it is an initiation. It's the universe's way of saying, this is your rebirth corridor, step into it awake, and step out of it unshakable. If you're still watching, I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more, please consider clicking the subscribe button. Your support is very appreciated. Feel free to share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more insightful content.